For the week of May 15th, 2022, this is MoJoWeekly. I'm John.
We can live. We can both live. It's Josh.
We can both live, and here is your news, Josh. People seem to really want a new Silent Hill game. Like any little bitty news about Silent Hill makes people just go nuts. So, this past week, Josh, a well-known leaker shared 4 images that were supposedly from this new Silent Hill game that's been rumored for ages and ages. And they were quickly deleted by the copyright holder, which the leaker claims is Konami. So, the Twitter user Dusk Golem posted the images before the account was locked and the images were removed. And that Dusk Golem later claimed on the forum, Reset Era, that the copyright claim was made by Konami. So this reboot has been rumored forever, probably since last year, longer, who knows. And then I think we talked about that the trademark was renewed recently as well. So we haven't seen any sort of Silent Hill anything since PT, which was the demo. So, yeah. Do you have any interest in Silent Hill? I'm not super familiar with the franchise. I played a little bit of it, but I've never been a huge fan.
The Silent Hill movie was pretty gory and scary. It had elements of pretty decent storytelling in it, but no, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And even the PT demo, that came out on whatever it was, PS3 or whatever. I was like, yeah, it's interesting. It's got a cool vibe to it. But this was PS4, I mean. And I was just like, I don't get what the big deal is. But yeah, people love it. So hopefully for those people, this means Konami's actually got something going on for Silent Hill. Anyway, next up, this is news for you, Josh. The Wonder Boy collection will launch for the PS4 and Switch on June 3rd.
Wait, what? Oh, Wonder Boy collection. I thought you said Wonder Swan collection.
That'd be something.
That would be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Took me a second there. I was like, Wonder Swan collection. Holy shit.
No, the Wonder Boy collection, you'll get 4 games, including Wonder Boy from 1986, where, you get to rescue your girlfriend, Tina, of course. Everybody loves Tina.
Adventure Island.
Wonder Boy in Monsterland. And then Wonder Boy in Monster World. And finally, Monster World 4, which is where Asha comes out, the young girl named Asha.
It's a good game.
Yeah, it's a great game. Great game. So, I feel like we've seen these games released individually, quite a few times over the past several years.
Yep.
In fact, Asha, the Monster World 4, that was released recently, and it got a remake. I think this game's going to be around $30,
Not bad.
This collection. So, yeah. There you go. Some Wonder Boy collection, Monster World, all that business. Next up, Josh, here's something that could be exciting. Potentially. In its annual earnings presentation for investors, Sega outlined some of its plans for the current fiscal year, which runs from April of this year until March of next year. One of those plans includes multiple titles that Sega considers remake, remaster, spin-off, or change of theme.
I did hear about this. This is kind of cool.
Yeah, so what are they talking about? Well, they didn't get into specifics, but they did say, here are some examples of old franchises that we could bring back in one form or another. Here they are. So the first 2 we talked about already a couple weeks ago, Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio. So we've talked about how multiple people have rumor, leakers and things like that have talked about those 2 franchises in particular. I think Bloomberg even did an article on it, on those 2 games. Next up, Space Channel 5 and Rez. So, maybe they could get Mitsuguchi involved in a new Rez. He did the Rez VR a few years back for the PlayStation VR, and we get some more Rez stuff, maybe some Space Channel 5 stuff. There was a Space Channel 5 VR game anyway. Panzer Dragoon, We saw the Panzer Dragoon remake for Switch, and I think it came to PS4 maybe.
I think so, yeah.
And after some patches, it wasn't bad. Knights. When was the last time we saw Knights? Was it the Wii game?
I could have sworn there was a Knights HD remake on the PS3 or the 360 or something like that. I thought there was a Wii one. So that Wii game, God, this is scary because I want a new Knights game. I really do, but I don't want a new Knights game.
Yeah,
especially the way Sega will make it.
Yeah. We're both really tired here because it's super late. We're trying to get this podcast out at the last minute. So we're both over here yawning like a couple of old bastards. Shinobi. When's the last time we saw Shinobi? I really liked the PS2 Shinobi game. Where you had
with the red scarf.
Yeah, the long red scarf. I dug that game.
I don't think there's ever been a bad Shinobi game.
I don't know. Virtua Fighter. We saw like a Virtua Fighter game just last year on the PS4. So maybe we'll see some more Virtua Fighter.
Come on.
Josh is looking for the number 6.
I am.
Altered Beast, they mentioned. I don't know. I can see some Altered Beast. Didn't they try some Altered Beast thing on like the 360? I don't know. Did that?
I don't know.
I don't think that ever got made, though. I can't remember.
There was Golden Axe Rider.
Yeah.
Can we get a sequel to that?
House of the Dead, we literally just saw, like in the past couple of weeks, a House of the Dead remake on the Switch. Streets of Rage 4 was awesome. Give us more. Give us Streets of Rage 5. I'll take it.
Yeah, take it.
And then finally, here's something. Soul Hackers.
That doesn't sound like Billy Hatcher 2.
No, it doesn't. Sounds better. I don't even know what Soul Hackers is. Honestly, I have no idea. I don't remember Soul Hackers.
Soul Hackers.
So yeah, I think everybody has talked for years about how Sega needs to go back into their back catalog and resurrect some of these awesome games.
Yeah, but definitely.
Who knows? And then finally, Josh, our last little tidbit is coming this week on the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, which is the greatest marketing name ever, is Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards for the N64.
Yeah.
So it was originally released. Go ahead.
I was going to say I saw some Twitch streamers playing that. It looks nice. It looks nice as it always did. It's one of those games that came out really late in the N64's library, the console's life. And I remember looking at it and thinking, God, this looks really pretty. Now let's talk about the PS2 and the GameCube. It was just so late. It's like meh.
Yep. I remember when I used to work for the Funko corporate headquarters, and this game came out right around the time where everybody was in the midst of being laid off or being relocated to Texas to work for the dreaded GameStop. And I just sat in my office and played this game, Kirby 64, for several days while I waited to be laid off. That's what I think of when I think of this game. But anyway, it was a fun game, fun little game. So anyway, it'll be out this week on May 20th to Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack subscribers. So there you go. All right, that's your news. All right, it is time for the new releases, Josh. We just have a couple new releases here. We got the Umurangi Generation for the Xbox. I don't know what it is. Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song. I love it when they have not one, but 2 subtitles. Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song.
Oh, okay, hold on. Well, I will give you that. Vampire the Masquerade is an established franchise. It's been around for like 25 plus odd years. It's Vampire the Masquerade is what it's called.
Ah.
There's Vampire the Masquerade and there's Vampire the Dark Ages. 2 entirely different universes all wrapped around together. Get your shit together, John.
Consider me educated.
Good. The cool thing about that game system, by the way, it's White Wolf. It's a tabletop RPG. They did come out with some games, God, mostly PC, but I swear like the 360 and the PS3 era did get a Vampire the Masquerade game. But the cool thing about that is you can start a vampire. Vampires are eternal. They live forever. You can create a character in the Dark Ages and live for thousands of years and then live in the year like 1987 in like Tokyo, Japan. As a vampire, John. Doing what? Masquerading. That's right.
Masquerading, I suppose. And then finally, Dolmen for just about everything except for Switch. Dolmen.
Dolmen, like Dole, the fruit company?
No, Dolmen. Dolmen.
Are you sure it's not Dahlman?
Sure, you can call it
Dollman. Dollman.
Yeah. It's an RPG shooter. I mean, it's everything. According to this, it says it's a RPG shooter action adventure fighting game. It's a terrifying new RPG that combines futuristic sci-fi and cosmic horror elements. So Dolmen. Dolmen. There you go. Well, hopefully Dale has something a bit more interesting as we switch.
He almost always does.
As we switch over to Dale and his retro recap.
What's up, Mojo Weekly listeners? This is Dale, and welcome to this week's retro recap of the latest retro re-releases, remasters, and remakes. As always, credit goes to GSK from Retronauts.com, StrictlyLimitedGames.com, and LimitedRunGames.com. You can find info for all this week's releases in the MoJoMenace.com forums. Let's get to it. For physical releases, a couple months back, Limited Run Games reissued the original NES A Boy and His Blob and the Game Boy sequel, and now they are reissuing the 2009 PS3 and 360 entry from the series on Switch and PS4. The platformer puzzle game continued the jelly bean puzzle elements of the original and introduced the beloved hug button. I think we all remember that awesome hug button. It goes for $35 for the standard edition and $65 for a collector's version that comes with a poster and a CD soundtrack. Hitting digitally this week for the arcade archives is Pro Tennis World Court for the Switch and PS4 for $8. GSK notates Namco ported this 1988 arcade sports title to the TurboGrafx 16 in America as World Court Tennis, a version I loved personally for its bizarre, out-of-the-place RPG quest mode, where you'd be walking around in an RPG like overworld and people would randomly challenge you to a match of tennis, like a fight in an RPG mode, but regrettably this original arcade version is just some decent straight-up tennis. But hey, it has a couple of bonus robot characters that bear a striking resistance to others from far, far away. Die-hard strategy RPG and Disgaea fans will be thrilled this week of the two-pack release of past spin-offs from the series with the release of Prinny Presents NIS Classics Volume 2, Makai Kingdom Reclaimed and Rebound, and ZHP Unlosing Ranger vs. Dark Death Evil Man. This is out as a two-pack only on the Switch for $40, or they are available individually for $20 each on the PC via Steam. These are ports of past PS2 and PSP entries from the line, and do not contain any notable additional extras. Moving on, there was a surprise relisting on the Xbox Live Arcade Marketplace on Xbox 360. The fan-favorite shmup Omega 5 from Natsume and Hudson Soft got relisted on the Xbox Live Arcade Marketplace, and it is forward compatible with all current Xbox platforms, back at its original $10 price. If you grew up in the 16-bit era like myself, you probably remember the Clay Fighter games had awesome looking visuals for its day on the 16-bit systems, but played rather poorly. Well, now there's a new fan mod on romhacking.net from user Zool called Ultra Clay Fighter, and this is promising to touch up and alleviate a bunch of those poor playing mechanics with a multitude of gameplay tweaks. And you can find the link for that in the MoJoMenace.com forums. And the jingles you are listening to this week come from Clay Fighter Tournament Edition. Wrapping things up this week is a new release from Bitmap Books, going all out with the King of Fighters Ultimate History. Aside from extensively researched history from every entry in the revered SNK Fighter series, this endorsed book has interviews, behind-the-scenes articles, and a whole lot of art. It is available as a standard hardcover for £35, and an all-star edition for £55 that includes bonus art prints and an exclusive slipcase. That wraps it up for this week. You can check out the MoJoMenace.com forum listings for this week's notes on the retro recap for links to the aforementioned releases. Back to you, John and Jayesh.
All right, Josh. Good job. You guessed the Clay Fighter soundtrack. Nice work.
See, I told you. Thanks, man.
Super impressive. Super impressive. Mm-hmm. All right. It's time for the game spotlight. And Josh, you wanted to talk about NBA Jam Boom Shakalaka.
He's heating up from downtown. Yeah, fuck yeah, NBA Jam.
Coincidentally, right? I mentioned my time working at the Funko Land corporate headquarters, and in the break room, there was an NBA Jam arcade machine that I played every single day during my lunch break. Every day.
Hell yeah,
Loved it.
It is very, very ironic, by the way, since we're telling stories, that we are recording this on Sunday evening rather than Friday afternoon, where I initially had planned on recording Fridays, which we usually do, because I was hot off the presses of a humongous Game 5 Milwaukee Bucks victory against the Boston Celtics, who then wound up over the rest of the weekend fucking it up and now losing and are no longer in the playoffs. I was going to say, hopefully we're all rooting for the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals, blah, blah, blah. But we didn't have to say that, and we don't even have to repair any of that or delete any of it or anything, John. Aren't you proud of it? I'm glad we waited this long.
Me too. I don't need sleep.
No, and hell no. But the NBA Jam, I mean, look at the installments that came out all throughout history. Like, Midway created this amazing arcade game in 1993, hot off of their success of Mortal Kombat 1 at the time. It's interesting to look at the succession here because Midway made literally only 5 NBA Jam type games, which was in a series of NBA games, which I believe if you look prior to NBA Jam, there was Arch Rivals, I think Midway made. And then that got ported. That was kind of the original engine that they had started to use for the NBA Jam style of gameplay. But then in 93, they came out with NBA Jam. Then Tournament Edition came out the year after. And then they dropped the NBA Jam name and pushed a Hang Time. It was Hang Time that came out on the PlayStation. Then it was NBA Showtime. That was Dreamcast, N64, PlayStation, Game Boy Color, stuff like that. And then finally in 2001, the last Midway installment of NBA Jam, or whatever you want to call it, their NBA games, was NBA Hoops, which featured 3-on-3 play.
Yeah.
What's really interesting, too, about this, after that, Acclaim seemed like they picked up the rights to it, and they came out with NBA Jam 2001, 2002, and then just straight up just NBA Jam. And then weirdly enough, and this is what I think is very odd, is that back when we were kids, the NBA Jam games, sorry, not when we were kids, but when we were young adults / kids, the NBA Jam games were kind of like those really fun, over-the-top, crazy 2-on-2 basketball games that kind of like were the anti-simulation style NBA games. That was like EA Sports and Sega and even Konami with what was Konami's basketball game?
Oh, Christ, right on the tip of my...
Double Dribble.
That's the one. Yep.
They had all these really nice simulation games that came out that were trying to be all ultra realistic and very, very like it's like watching a real game, but really not. And they keep all the statistics and everything. But the NBA Jam games were always way over the top and ridiculous and silly. But weirdly enough, the last edition of NBA Jam was actually purchased by EA Sports. And I can't believe it was already 12 years ago. That feels very recent to me, which I think just means that I'm incredibly old. But that was a Wii, PlayStation 3, and 360. There was NBA Jam and then NBA Jam On Fire edition.
Yeah,
were both released by EA Sports.
I remember actually enjoying that one. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I bought it for one of those consoles, for Wii or 360 or something. And I feel like I had a good time with it.
Yeah, and it's an important time right now in basketball. There's going to be a new, after the pandemic and everything, like going back to that and getting real arenas filled with fans and stuff like that again, I thought it was a good idea to talk about basketball and just in general. But one series that I really actually enjoyed, and it's sort of a shame that it pretty much just got buried initially right away and then never got any sequels or anything like that. It was Acclaim actually carried that engine that they had built for like the Super Nintendo, the Genesis, and the Game Boy and the Saturn ports of NBA Jam and got the official license for the NCAA college basketball, all the teams, players and numbers and the logos and everything like that. And they actually released a game called College Slam. College Slam is a game that I played the hell out of on the Sega Saturn. It was really fun. You could kind of do your own, create a character, sort of. You could name your own characters, and then you could play as, like for me, for instance, I was like Wisconsin, the Badgers. You could play as the Badgers. And whenever big things happen in the game, like music would come on, and there would be these like Wisconsin type things that was really interesting. You do this huge jam, and then there's like on Wisconsin, blah blah, whatever.
People started shooting deers.
Yeah, there was lots of deers being shot, a couple bucks being smashed, the beers up against their heads, and and everybody was all up in arms, and it was a big fucking deal,
Yeah.
And so it was really interesting to me. I thought it was a very cool time in gaming, just in general, where basketball games didn't have to take themselves super serious, and it was just really fun. And man, I don't know. I remember the first time I played NBA Jam. That time in sports was really weird because NBA Jam, the EA Sports basketball games, none of them had Michael Jordan. None of them had Shaquille O'Neal. It was very bizarre because Shaq had Shaq Fu, and Michael Jordan had Michael Jordan in the Windy City, and they were like exclusively only licensed to those games, and so you couldn't put them in NBA games. And it was just really weird. I think the Bucks, they couldn't do Glenn Robinson for some reason back in the day because he was like exclusive to like Nike or something weird like that. So you had Vin Baker and like Michael Redd, and it was like, who the fuck are these guys? Vin Baker.
Yeah, I remember
that's
that
a classic.
That guy weighed like 800 pounds.
He was huge. Yeah, he was huge. Good player. I mean, we had good players. There's a lot of good players in the Bucks, but like, it's interesting. I would love for them to do a new NBA Jam now. Like, right now would be a really cool time to do it. If EA still owns the rights to it, for whatever reason, EA holds the rights to billions of different franchises, and they just fucking sit on constantly, just bleeding money everywhere. But like, I think that would be really cool to see a new NBA Jam today. I'd probably buy it.
I'd probably buy it. These games are always great, like pick up and play games, and it wasn't just NBA Jam. There are other sports that had similar kinds of games, like Hit the Ice with hockey, right?
Yep.
It wasn't
that was that was Taito, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
But those style of games always were great to just pick up and play with people who are very casual gamers, but who maybe like sports and stuff. Yeah, I totally.
Yeah. It was just fun for the multiplayer aspect of it. And man, Midway kind of made a living off of that kind of stuff where it was like, what was it? NFL Blitz. NFL Blitz was very NBA Jam, like where it was just ridiculous and over the top. It was pretty crazy, but yeah, I don't know.
It's crazy. It's been over a decade since we've seen one of these.
I know.
I could not possibly care less about playing like an NBA 2K at this point. But you pull out an NBA Jam in 2022, 2023, I'll be all over it.
Yeah.
I'll play that shit.
Yeah,
I'll play that shit.
It's also kind of fun to see like a lot of games that were inspired by NBA Jam that went over the top. Like on the Neo Geo, it's got 3 different names depending on which part of the world you live on. But Street Hoops, Street Slam, or Dunk Dream. A lot of people call that an NBA Jam clone. That's got like street style gameplay on the Neo Geo. I don't know if I've ever even played that. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, it is time for the last question.
Oh my God.
So Josh, I did something a little different this week. I put this question out in advance to people on our Discord chat to get some of their answers.
Oh, right? Shit.
So this will give you a chance to think of your answer while I read their answers. You ready?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right. So the question is, what game series that you used to love has kind of left you behind? So in other words, what's a game series that you used to love, but as the series went on, maybe they went in different direction or lost you with their design choices, right?
Okay.
So let's see. Let's see what
Tex. A lot of good answers.
Yeah, Tex, he said the EA NHL series. He said it's old gamer stuff, but the increased puck stick control with analog and triggers took the fun out of it. So that's what we were talking about with like NBA Jam. As games got more sim-like, right? Just lost the fun. Lag said Assassin's Creed after it was no longer a stealth game. He also gave up on Star Fox after it became apparent that Nintendo was just going to keep rebooting it every time.
Yep.
Right. Poof. Let's see. Iceman, he says ditto to the EA NHL series. And he said Super Blood Hockey is a ton of good fun, though. It's much more violent, like NES hockey, right?
Wow.
Let's see. We got another one. Tropism said Double Dragon at the arcade was one of his all-time favorite games, but after that, like, it just lost his interest, right?
Okay.
Yeah, let's see. Battlefield. Deadward said Battlefield. He said he steadily fell off after Battlefield 3, and now he just barely touches it. And then finally, Beaver says Tomb Raider. He says the PS1 games were great, but the PS2 games, he just couldn't go there. So there we go.
They've kind of redeemed themselves in
Yeah.
the more recent ones. I mean, basically just Uncharted with a female protagonist, but
Yeah.
all right. There's a couple answers here that people I think could easily say. I think the easiest one that initially popped in my head was Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, come on, that's an easy,
Yeah, it's easy.
easy answer.
Yeah.
But man, a series that kind of just left me behind. I'd have to say, and there's a reason why I play an 18-year-old MMORPG today instead of the new installments, and that's Phantasy Star Online.
Yeah.
I love PSO's episode 1, 2, and I guess 4, but 1, 2, 3, and 4. And man, Phantasy Star Universe came after that, and now Phantasy Star Online 2. And okay, cool. It just kind of follows all those other MMORPGs, and it just kind of does this whole like, yay, multiplayer and all this awesomeness. It's like, you guys built a good game. You guys built a good game a million years ago. Well, now 22 years ago on the Dreamcast. And all you need to do is update it and make it prettier and make it play better and just keep that same similar style. And they keep missing the mark. And yeah, I'd say PSO.
Right on. I think my answer might be Yakuza. Because with Yakuza 7, Like a Dragon, they switched it from an action game to an RPG. And as much as I want to love Like a Dragon, it just drags. And it's slow, and it's a grind, and it's tedious. And with the old Yakuza game, or the mainline Yakuza games 1 through 6, you turn every corner and you beat some punk asses down, and then you go about your business. Now with Yakuza 7, you turn the corner, and you got to stop because it's a turn-based battle, right? And you got to do the whole thing. Now,
that's crazy.
Now, the spin-off games, Judgment and Lost Judgment, they've retained the beat-em-up kind of style, right? So it seems like they've split it off where if you want the beat-em-up style, you're going to play Judgment from now on. If you want the new RPG kind of style, you're going to play Yakuza, starting with Yakuza 7. So I guess if I want that beat-em-up action, I'm just going to have to stick with the Judgment series. So
I guess. Well, at least you have that option out there. I mean, that was one thing I was going to say. It's weird when a game series is known as a beat 'em up, and then all of a sudden they're like on the 7th installment after it's well established, the type of game you're expecting and the kind of games that you get excited about. Nope, fuck you. We're playing something completely different. No, it's Final Fantasy. Guess what?
Yeah.
Like is that maybe to compete with Persona? Like Persona 5 is like this 150-hour ridiculous slow-based RPG with a great story, but very slow. It's almost the exact opposite of what you saw with Final Fantasy, because that's another good one. Final Fantasies. Who didn't love Final Fantasies on the NES, Super Nintendo, and the early PlayStation games? Like, and now 15 was like fun-ish, but certainly did not feel like a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for us. That's it for this week. If you want more of our stuff, you can go to MoJoMenace.com, and on the main page you can get links to our Discord where you can answer the last question, our forums, and our merch store. YouTube.com/MoJoMenace. We post all sorts of videos there, and Twitch.tv/MoJoMenace. And on most of the social medias, you'll find us at MoJoMenace. Josh, where can they find you?
Well, if you'd like to @me, get on Twitter. Look me up @_Joshua Turbo. Don't forget the underscores. It is the most important underscore on all the internet. And message me and let's get on Fightcade. Let's play a little bit of NBA Jam, or maybe this Dunk Dream Street Slam Street Hoops, or whatever the fuck it's called this week. I'm down for that. I'm on Fightcade. Find me. Let's play some games together.
All right, there it is. We'll talk to you next week, hopefully earlier. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Eat the tacos, come eat the tacos. Eat the tacos, come eat them up.